Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel Cordova. I was born and raised in Colombia. Now I live in Canada. And right now I'm facing a challenge which is growing the printer business of my parents from Colombia and take it to export products into the States and Canada and get more clients in Colombia as well. Okay. So let's break into the series of videos that I'm gonna be making, and this is gonna be more like a try it out, something that I'm trying. And this is the first thing that I saw in the company, which is the structure, how the company set up, right? So this is just what I was doing, but I'm gonna explain it to you in a few seconds, so don't worry about it. So if we normally think about company, what do you think? The organization chart, right? So what is gonna be at the top? CEO. Then you're gonna go down. Normally changes, but you can have CFO, COO, and CGO. Chief Group Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Financial Officer. So those are the three verticals of the business. What I have been seeing lately is like they normally don't touch between each other. Grow doesn't talk as much with operations, sometimes talks to financials about budget, but not really like day-to-day involved between each other, right? This guy gets involved with this just for suppliers or whenever they get to do the sale, right? But pretty much operations just go by itself, right? So what I'm thinking is the three phases that the business goes through is capital, execution, and design plus capital plus execution. That's the order, right? Normally everything goes from here, right? This could be design, this could be analysis, however you want to call it, like who creates the design that everybody has to follow, right? The other day, I was thinking that like normally this is the most important thing, but back then, if you think about Michelangelo, how he built everything, right? He knew about everything a little bit. He's like a master builder. There's a guy who was talking about this. Humber, he was thinking about this in a video, and he was saying that like the most important thing is gonna become no capital, it's gonna be the execution of the business. Because this is who normally knows all the ins and outs of the business, knows all the problems, everything that it can go wrong in real life. I like to make this analogy, and it's really easy to see for people in construction, which is my field. You take a construction project, you have multiple people involved, because it's really hard for one person just to know everything, right? And it's just the way that it's set up, it's the way that we train people. It's just the way that we have normalized to structure everything, and we just like pieces of the puzzle, right? And we just put them together, right? So I think how it should be coming from the builder who has all the experience, then they have the design, and then taking care, right? This whole line. Normally, you make the design, everything tries to follow this, especially in this part. You as well have to take care of it. This is a design. Sometimes you can make mistakes. Sometimes, well, things in real life happens. You find a water main in the middle of the road that it wasn't supposed to be there. What do you do, right? If the design is here, or the design comes with the building experience, well, that's gonna just make things easier because he knows what to do in those kind of like unique cases, right? So if you want to apply that into AI, well, it's essentially what is going to happen, right? Because you might have a lot of knowledge to your disposition that you're going to be able to use every day in your normal operations. So that's why you are going to be able to have key man's problems, because key man is relying on just one person to do one part of the business, right? So this is how I'm going to structure everything. My mom she's the CEO. My dad, he's the CEO. Daniel, he's the growth officer. And Nicholas, he is the CFO. Nicholas, okay? So, this is where I'm going with Descartes and the disclosure of the method. He was saying, and you know Descartes is obsessed with geometry, but he was saying that the perfection of the universe is shows in everything, and especially in geometrical figures, right? The fact that every distance is perfect from here, it just shows you that it's a perfect system. It's an enclosed perfect system, right? What do you mean by that? Well, essentially the argument was saying that like God is real because we're in a perfect enclosed system, right? It works. If gravity would be slightly higher, it might not work. If it would be slightly lower, it might not work. Like all the circumstances and the coincidences, that we would like to call it, are so perfect that allow us to have life, right, in this planet. So if the system is perfect and everything has to be a perfect system and close, especially the borders of the system, well, essentially that's what we're gonna do, right? So if a perfect system can create lines between cells, it can do too, right? And there is the same distance from this to this to this to this to this to this, right? Great. So now we have more lines of communication. We have lines of communication between Nicholas and Dad and Daniel, Dad and Nicholas. There is a whole line of communication between us to make decisions, and that will be to connect with Mom, my dad connecting with my mom, and I'm connecting with my mom for the decision making of the business, right? Where I'm going with this is in the day-to-day operations. Well, what are you gonna have? Well, you are in sales, marketing, utilities of the business, like suppliers. I'm gonna put like a U because I already had the S there, and operations, day-to-day operations, financial, and accountability. Okay, that's pretty much how I'm breaking it up. I know it's wider than that, but this is just like an example. And we're in a constant communication between each other too, right? It's like a circle. It's just getting bigger, but the system outside is perfect. So it means that you can make perfect lines inside the system too, right? So you can connect with Nicholas here, you can connect here too, and you can connect here, right? And this is where I think knowing more about the business, knowing about the financials, knowing about the sales, the marketing, knowing the operations, it becomes crucial when you're trying to build a company with the new AI models, right? Because knowledge is going to be unlimited, right? There is going to be a lot of things that you're going to be able just to get by asking AI the right questions. So what do you need? Well, you need like a portfolio of questions, right? What question do we ask AI when we want to do this, all right? And it has to be the same kind of question, because it has to be the same kind of input, you want the same kind of output, right? It has to be same input, same output, right? Cannot change, right? So you need like a database of questions, or like a Excel sheet of questions, right? How to train the people, how to make the questions to AI about financial, about accountability, about sales, about marketing, about operations, about utilities. No, that wasn't utilities, that was suppliers. Okay, so you're able to create all those manuals, and everybody just has to make questions to AI at the right time. And these people have the knowledge of the whole business, not just a single niche. Well, essentially what is going to happen is, if Nicholas goes on vacations, my mom can go down, right? So he's not key man. We can take over his function really easily, because the most valuable thing about him is not his knowledge, it's how he operates in the day-to-day, right? And how he communicates to the other members of the team. But if he goes as well, I can take here, Daniel. My mom keeps working, and I just take care of the two departments here, right? With that being said, it can go as well here, because you see we can change here between us, which is the main core of the business. But then if we go here, which is the most important part of the business, which is like where things get done. This is just management, but this is where things get done, because we're managing the system. Like this whole circle is managing the whole system to make sure that it works, right? So operations can talk to suppliers, so that can go around. I think it will be harder to go from operations to financial and accountability, unless you train the people to be aware of everything. But I think it's a little bit harder with a brick and mortar business, because just you need to be really good at one skill, which is printing, which is like putting the ink in the machine, right? Which is cleaning the machine. So especially because of the kind of business that we have. It's a printing business, but we specialize a lot in like packaging, all sorts of packaging, pharmacies, or medical products. That's like our main core. But that's what I think is harder to go from any of these two to these ones. But you can go really easily from accountability. You have the right training manuals and the right set of inputs to get the right set of outputs, right? So if one day this guy is sick, I can go down and cover, or this guy can go here and cover, right? And he can do two jobs at the same time, because it's just the amount of inputs that you're getting, right? How did I came with this structure? Well, essentially, this is just good lines of communication, and it's just a family structure. This is how I would like to think of my family structure. This is where I like this whole different topic, and maybe you should make a whole different video about this one. But this is just because my family structure operates in this way. I just copy pasted that family structure and poured it into a business. My mom is the one who always come to us. She's the one who makes the calls whenever we're being irrational or emotional, right? And I think that's the main thing. Like a CEO main function is to give vision to a company and not fall into emotional actions and decisions, right? My dad, he's the one who has the most experience in the company. He has 25 years of experience in printing, right? We have about 10 years, I would say. We hadn't been always really involved in the business, but not as much as my dad, and especially knowing the printing part. But Nicholas has been really involved lately in the whole financial accountability systems, the payments and everything, right? So that's why you just need to see the strengths and weaknesses of your family, and then you can create a family business that actually works and there is no fights. But in order to do that, you need to have good relationships with your family. Like if you don't have a good relation with your family, all those problems that you have outside are just gonna be poured into this, and they're not gonna beneficiate the business. They're gonna be maybe just personal problems, and not gonna, like, we were trying to make a decision, and like Nicholas thinks that I'm right. My dad thinks that I'm right, but he doesn't like my opinion. He's just gonna vote against my decision, knowing that is right, just because he has a personal thing against me. So I think you need a healthy family structure, and then you can put it right. And that's what it happens in home. And the more me and my dad were the most outgoing ones, the ones who likes to talk with people. And I would say that's one of my main skills. That's why like I make the videos in English. That's why the whole thing about learning English for me, it was just putting yourself out there, and you're gonna learn by mistakes. You're gonna learn by the Canadians teaching you which kind of mistakes are you making, what kind of pronunciation you should improve. And I still learning. By no any means I'm perfect, and you can notice that in this video, right? Nicholas, he's really strict with money and everything, right? So that's why he should be the financial, because when any of us, we try to go crazy about buying new equipment, hire new people, spending a bunch of money in sales and marketing, he's gonna make the calls and he's gonna be, okay guys, we need to chill down. We just bought this equipment, we just hired 3 people. where are you gonna pull the money to pay for this? Like, money doesn't grow on trees, right? And we can just not go and like just get a shovel and start shoveling money to pay for all these things that you want to do. So that's why he went into the CFO operation and more going. And even if I don't like this, like marketing and sales, I will do it. Just because it has to be done and it's a really special part of the structure, but my dad normally takes care of the sales. So that's just my grain of salt. That's the routine. Like, you can replace key main players. You have more communication inside the structure of the corporation, and it's like a main goal instead of like three separate structural goals that they just merge together, right? And I think it has been working for a long time, but I just think with the disruption of the AI, it's just gonna break it. I think the longer that you keep your models working with AI, they're gonna be more efficient. But the problem is you're gonna keep models, all models that you should chat. How do I phrase this? Okay. With AI, your systems are gonna be more efficient. But the thing is, the fact that they're more efficient is gonna be harder for you now to get rid of them. And now with AI, you're gonna be able to create new systems. By creating new systems, maybe you might be slower at the first because it's creating a new system, new training, new whole vision of the company. But as well, you will be able to grow faster in the long run. I haven't tried this out. This is just like my thoughts. I'm gonna put it into practice. I'm gonna keep you updated on what is going on, if it works, if it doesn't work. But for sure it's gonna be slower, right? Because it's not just gonna be teaching one person one section in specific. It's gonna be teaching one person about the whole core business, right? Or at least the whole segment of the business. Because this person should know about this whole segment of the business. And it's just because of that I think it makes the training a little bit more complicated. But that's why you should go and create your list of inputs to get your correct outputs. And especially for something that is digital, I think this would be really helpful. For a brick and mortar business, I would be a little bit more careful because, as I mentioned, operations is really hard to get involved into something else. But at the end of the day, I think in the long run, the structures of the company are going to be changing. And this is just like the first steps that we're taking into this new digital AI world.